Welcome to a new video from FC Mastery Path. This is Mo, and I'm glad to be your presenter today. This video belongs to a series of videos where we're going to be discussing the data that we receive on a daily basis in the construction realm and how we can transform the data into a more enhanced format that is easy to analyze and process. In today's video, we're going to be exploring the Tabular Model Definition Language, or better known as the TMDL, which is a relatively new technique that is devised by Microsoft inside Power BI. In today's video, we're going to be exploring how we can automate the documentation of the Power BI dashboards that we create day in, day out. This video is going to be split into three parts. The first part is defining what is TMDL and the extent of which we can use it. The second part of this video is going to be exploring how we can activate the option of TMDL in Power BI alongside how to export the Power BI tables, relations, measures into text files. And then the last part of this video is going to be exploring how we can automate the documentation of our Power BI report using the TMDL files exported alongside the widely available AI options. The tech stack that we're going to be using in today's video relies on two main pillars: Microsoft Power BI and Visual Studio Code. In order to download Microsoft Power BI, you can go to Google and then type in download Power BI desktop, and then you can open the first result. It's going to enable you to download Power BI in the latest version. And in order to be able to use the TMDL, you have to have the January 2025 update. Or you can simply press on the Windows icon and then go to Microsoft Store. You can type in Power BI and you will find Power BI Desktop. You can easily download it. The second program that we're going to be using today to explore further the TMDL text files is Microsoft Visual Studio Code. And you can download it by going to code.visualstudio.com/download. It's available on all operating systems, Windows, Mac and Linux, and you can download the right file for your system. And now without further ado, let's get started. TMDL, or the Tabular Model Definition Language, it's a significant advancement in Power BI development. It was introduced by Microsoft back in January 2024, and it allows to edit the Power BI model as a code, similar to how developers work with traditional programming languages. TMDL relies on saving your Power BI file into a Power BI project file, which then creates a series of folders containing the tables, the measures, the relationships between the tables, and the likes. This significantly helps with version control, making it easier to collaborate with team members, and it also allows for quick modifications without even opening the Power BI file. So whether you are a developer, a data analyst, or a Power BI administrator, understanding TMDL can significantly streamline your development workflow and improve collaboration within your team. When you download and install Power BI, you will be able to open it, and then you can select a blank report so that we are able to tweak things a little bit. You can go to File and then Options and Settings at the bottom left, and then Options. This will open a window which contains all of the options and settings that you can tweak in Power BI. What we're going to be quite interested in is going to Preview Features under the Global Settings, and then scroll a bit down till you see Power BI Projects PPIP Save option. Click on Store Semantic Models using TMDL, and also Store Reports using Enhanced Metadata format. When you press OK, it's going to tell you that you will have to restart the program. Press OK, close Power BI, and then we can open it again, Power BI Desktop, from the Start menu, and then go to Options and Settings, Options, and then go to Preview Features on the Global Settings. Scroll down a little bit, you will find Power BI Project Save option is now available and activated. This is a trial dashboard that I'm working on for one of them courses related to construction data analytics, so stay tuned for that. I'm using this dashboard as a pilot dashboard to understand further and showcase how Power BI project files work. We can save it as a Power BI project by going to File and then Save As, and then we can browse this device. Let's save it on the desktop, create a folder called Pilot Dashboard, and then I'm going to save everything inside this folder. change the format to be Power BI project files, and then call it pilot dashboard as well, and then click on save. It's going to tell you that there are some limitations because that's a preview feature, but that's understandable. You can open the location where the files are saved, which is on the desktop, pilot dashboard, and then let's explore this a little bit. So you'll find the Power BI file itself as a Power BI project, and you'll find a folder related to the report, a folder related to the semantic model. The one which I'm really interested in is the semantic model itself. If you double click on it and then you go inside the definition, you will find the model, the relationships, the expressions, the database, tables, and the cultures. And now we can open some of them in VS Code to understand it further. So after you have downloaded VS Code, we can go to File and then Open Folder. And then let's open the folder that we want. So it is inside semantic model and definition. And let's open this folder. And as you can see here, we have all of them TMDL files, the folder of tables, the folder of cultures. So let's go to the relationships and understand it further. It's readable because it's a relationship from whichever column and whichever table. So the table is called inflation indices, and the column is index date, and the column is a local date table dot date, and so on and so forth. These are the relationships that I have created in the model itself. The model.tmdl, it spits out some of them basic information about the model itself, which are the fact tables, which are the dimension tables, the language itself, which Power BI version that I'm using, what language I'm using, the piece of software, and the likes. If I go inside of tables and I can choose whatever table I want, let's say activities.categories.tmdl. At this point in time, I'll understand further what's happening with this activities categories. The Power Query itself for the activities categories, you can see it here. You can also see some properties about this table, such as which columns are strings. Activity category, that's a string. Activities category index, that's an integer 64, which means it's a number, and then the Power Query code for it as well. Let's choose another table, such as the project names, TMDL, and you can find it's fairly similar, and that's because of the nature of the model that I do possess. One of the most interesting features about TMDL files is that you can edit text files, and then these edits are going to be reflected in the Power BI dashboard itself. Before we do that, we need to install the extensions related to TMDL, because there are a couple of them that can make the best use of VS Code. If you go to the extensions tab and then type in TMDL, you can find Power BI Studio, you can find Power BI VS Code extension, and you can find TMDL, UUID generator, and TMDL. I'll just install the first one. It took less than a minute. Now let's explore the TMDL files again. Let's choose the measures table.tmdl, because that one is a bit interesting. As you can see here, after installing the TMDL add-in or extension in VS Code, it now gives different color codes or different bits and pieces in the code itself. I want to create another measure that sums the inflated unit rates. If I want to do lots of repetition in the measures, it might be worth it to do it here rather than doing it in Power BI. It's going to be much faster. So let me create the same measure, but just change the sum x to be an average x. Nothing fancy, just a very simple measure. I'm going to call it the sum activities inflated unit rate. And then here is going to be a sum x. Same everything. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be saving it. So Control S. I'm going to go to where I saved the Power BI project file. I'm going to go to the pilot dashboard and then open it again. So the measure that we added should be in the measures table, and we called it sum activities or inflated unit rates. I think it might be in the activities measures, and as you can see here, it is added sum activities inflated unit rate. We can see that it did the sum x based on the values of the indices in one of them tables, and it's making the best use of one of the measures. And think about this as economies of scale. If you have a standardized set of measures that you want to create for your data model, it makes perfect sense to create it in VS Code rather than just creating them here, especially if you're confident with DAX. In this part of the video, we're going to be exploring how we can make the best use of the TMDL files that are read in text format to automate the documentation of the Power BI report that we are creating. Based on understanding these files, the most important files are the relationships, because it details the relationships between different columns and different tables. The model file, it gives an understanding about what's happening behind the scenes in that model, the expressions, and the table files. So what we're going to be doing now is opening Claude, for argument's sake. I have a subscription for Claude 3.5 Sonnet. What I'm going to be doing here is that I'm going to be taking a copy of these files, copy, and and then go to Claude, then paste them, and then also go to the tables and try my luck and paste them all in one hit. And then I'm going to be prompting the AI model to write a documentation, even a brief documentation, based on the files that I've provided. I'm also going to provide some sort of context for the prompt itself to be much more accurate. I'm going to be also providing further context in the prompt so that the answer or the actual documentation provided by Claude is accurate as much as possible. So once I uploaded the Tabular Model Definition Language files, or TMDL files, to Claude, I then asked it to use these extracted files alongside some context about what this dashboard is all about, shows the end user to search by the rates and activities, and also does some sort of time intelligence analysis for activities durations. I now want the full documentation. The first result was quite brief, which is not good in any way, shape or form. And I asked it to be quite explanatory and to split the responses into various parts. One of the limitations for Claude is the response limit. So I always use this trick when I'm dealing with Claude. It's split out into 5 different parts. Part 1 for the overview and architecture, which is pretty detailed. Part number 2 related to table structures. What are the tables, or are the main columns in each single table? Part number 3 related to the measures themselves and the calculations, as you can see here. Part number 4 related to the advanced features and implementation, so taking into account the time intelligence itself, dealing with some of the formulae, dealing with the inflation and other sections that it proposed. And lastly is the enhancement and maintenance. So taking into account the future areas for development, you can take a copy of these ones and put it in a Microsoft Word or a OneNote file, and then you can do your own edits for the headings and the likes. And it's quite lengthy, to say the least, and I think it's quite detailed. What we could do as well is to add images for the actual pages and the visuals. That is one of them areas which might need a bit of work. The AI tools themselves, they can cut down the development time in the tedious tasks like this and give more time to do quality assurance for the final product. I've also tried ChatGPT 4.0. I've tried to prompt it a lot of times, but the end result is not as detailed as Claude in any way, shape or form. It might be because Claude Sonnet 3.5 is an equivalent to 0.1, but 0.1 it just accepts image files at the time being. This is January 2025. ChatGPT is not the best when it comes to these kind of documentations. Claude is much better, and that's simply how you can automate the documentation of your Power BI dashboard using TMDL files as well as paid AI tools like Claude AI. All the files that are presented in this series, they are saved on one of my GitHub repositories called Construction Data Analytics. You can navigate to this website by going to github.com/moashow93/construction data analytics. And if you're interested in the deployment of AI in the construction industry, you can explore my other repositories. I have a wide variety of repositories with mini and large projects related to the AI machine learning deployment in the construction industry. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you found this video useful and insightful. I've prepared a couple of them other videos about fine-tuning large language models and deploying them to OpenWeb UI. I'm going to be putting the links in the description below. You can also pay my website a visit at www.apcmasterypath.co.uk, where I provide multiple packages for the RSS APC candidates to support them throughout their RSCS journey. Also, I provide lots of insights about the RSS APC process, the different areas of competence, and how you can deploy AI within the construction industry. Do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe so that you get notified about our latest videos.